So the final speaker in our session on Can Technology Fill the Gap is Thomas Carlick. Tom is a research assistant here with us in the Brains program at University of Sydney. And today he's going to talk with us about evaluating brain tumour information resources, what we found the current state to be and what the next steps are. So hand over to you, Tom.
Thank you. So thanks, Harry. So today I'll be presenting on work done by myself, Jill Chen and Hannah Banks on our evaluation of brain tumour resources, the current state and next steps. So to set the scene, a number of years ago, a survey found that 60% of Australians did not have adequate literacy skills to meet the minimum requirements of everyday life. So this includes navigating employment, understanding public health information, and other daily tasks. And although this statistic is a bit old right now, it remains that a substantial portion of the population can struggle when it comes to understanding information. Considering the brain tumour population more specifically, 9 in 10 people with brain tumour experience at least one form of cognitive impairment, which can include effects on memory, attention, or language. And understandably, these deficits can make the task of reading and understanding material significantly more difficult regardless of literacy levels. So considering these two statistics together, that a large portion of the population could struggle with literacy and this very large majority of people with brain tumour experience some sort of cognitive deficit, it becomes really evident that there is a need for information for this population to be really easily understandable, use simple language, and be really obviously useful. And this was what drove our research question, which is to understand what the current state of information resources are for people affected by brain tumour. So we measured 3 main domains, the first 2 being understandability and actionability. We measured with a tool called the PMAP. And understandability refers to whether a resource can be processed and explained by consumers of diverse backgrounds and health literacy levels. And actionability refers to whether a resource tells consumers what they can do with the information presented. And for each of these, the definition of understandable and actionable, 70% score or above. We also measured readability, which is the ease with which a reader can understand written text. This is measured in the minimum grade level requirement to understand the material. And for the majority of the population to understand material, we're looking for it to score grade 8 or below. So our search strategy was to use Google, selecting resources from the first page Google from general search terms, because this is similar to how a patient or a caregiver may search when looking for information. This led to 28 organisations to be identified, majority of which were Australian, some from the UK, and a couple from Canada and New Zealand. These 28 organisations together had 352 written materials, which included websites, fact sheets, and booklets, and 25 videos for a total of 377 materials analysed. What we found was generally there was quite poor readability, so the language is generally quite complex, requiring about grade 10 to 11 to understand. Again, remember that we want this to be no greater than grade 8. Understandability was below that 70% cutoff, indicating that a lot of resources weren't actually understandable. And actionability was very, very low, about 20%, 22%. And this is because actually a large portion of the materials didn't include any actions at all, indicating that they didn't really communicate the utility of the information to the reader. And we've separated Australian resources to the rest of the world. And as we can see, Australia doesn't really do much of a better job compared to the rest of the world, which is quite concerning. Some common shortfalls for why understandability could be affected. The purpose and scope was unclear. So setting expectations about what the material will be can be really useful to help readers understand what to expect. And this wasn't really done. There was a lack of images. So images, diagrams, charts, those sorts of things can be really simple method of conveying long or complex information, just making things more digestible. Again, this wasn't really done. There was little videos. So as due to the common cognitive deficits, reading can actually be quite difficult. And so videos can be helpful, but as we saw, there was only 25 videos out of nearly 400 resources that we analysed. So this indicates to us that they're really underutilised. There's lack of summaries, so summaries are really a nice way to wrap up a material and allow a reader to double check that they know what the key points of the article were. And again, this wasn't really done. And as I mentioned before, there was a lack of action, so there was really no information about what readers can do with the information. That is quite obvious. So where to next? We've provided some detailed feedback to key Australian cancer advocacy organisations, how to improve their resources and some changes to improve readability, understandability and actionability. And we also aim to develop our own information resources as part of the BRAINS program. And if there's any questions, feel free to leave them in the chat.